everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new. Last time we were together, we talked about the show We Three. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the show Martha Speaks. Just like last time, this video is broken down into a few different categories, such as characters, story, production, and the end of Martha Speaks. So let's begin.
Let's go.
Martha Speaks won a poll I did on my channel to decide which video to do next. But that was a bit ago, and I decided to do We Three for Halloween. So Martha Speaks kind of just like got pushed back and back and back, and I decided now's better. Better late than never, am I right? So we can just appreciate that the video is here now and the grind for Martha Speaks is over. I honestly did not know that people actually like this show so much. Like, for that to be the one that won the poll. Crazy. Martha Speaks is classified as an American-Canadian television show aimed for preschool and elementary children. The show is under a few different genre categories, such as obviously children, education, comedy, slapstick, and animation. For those who don't know what a slapstick is genre-wise or just like in general, by definition it means comedy based on deliberately clumsy actions or embarrassing events. So like tripping or falling down the stairs, just embarrassing yourself really. Martha Speaks is based off the 1992 children's books Martha Speaks by Susan Medog. The show itself was produced by WGBH Boston and animated by DHX Media Vancouver, but was animated by Oasis Animation later on in the show. Martha Speaks aired on PBS and PBS Kids, and the first episode aired September 1st, 2008. Martha Speaks taught children a few different lessons, but the main one was vocabulary, hinted by obviously the title being Martha Speaks. Martha Speaks carried out 6 seasons and 96 episodes, making for 183 segments. The plot for Martha Speaks is that 11-year-old Helen and her family fed their dog Martha alphabet soup, and the soup got lost on the way to Martha's stomach and went to her brain, giving her the ability to speak human words. She could already speak dog. Let's now meet our main characters. Of course, our first main character and the title holder is Martha Lorraine, which, by the way, I did see people saying that their last name's not Lorraine and that it's like something different. I don't even remember. But I'm just gonna go with what I found the most of, which was Lorraine. So if it's not Lorraine to you, I don't know. There was a few different variations of the show given out to different parts of the world. So you might have gotten a different Martha than Martha Lorraine. I don't know. Martha is voiced by Tabitha St. Germain. And Tabitha is actually, in my opinion, a legend in like the voice acting community. And has an amazing collection of voice roles over the years. You may recognize her from her most well-known role as Rarity in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and every variation that came afterwards for that series. As well as some honorable mentions are Mia in Lego Friends, the Spirit of Christmas Past in Barbie and a Christmas Carol, alongside a bunch of other Barbie movie roles, which includes one of my favorite movies, Mariposa, where she plays Willa, who is Barbie's best friend in that movie, or Mariposa's best friend in that movie. Now back to our focus on Martha. Martha is a Labradoodle mix. Not sure what she's mixed with, just what I got. It is said she is a very energetic dog who was adopted by the Lorraine family from the pound. To keep her ability to talk, Martha has to eat alphabet soup. However, she can speak different languages, depending on the different kind of soup she eats. Let me rephrase this a bit more. It has to be alphabet soup, but if it's like imported from different countries, it will give her that ability to speak that language, if that makes sense. It's really confusing. This process of eating alphabet soup cannot be done to any other dog in the series, just Martha. Martha is based on Susan Madaw's real-life dog. It is confirmed that all the animals in the series can understand the human language, but they aren't able to speak it, whereas Martha can understand literally every kind of animal language and human language, and can speak it. Skitz Lorraine is voiced by Brian Drummond, might have said it wrong, Drummond, who you might also recognize from his voice works such as Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z and Ryuk. I might have said it wrong. I've never watched Death Note, but he plays Ryuk from Death Note. Skitz is the other dog owned by the Lorraine family. Unlike Martha, the alphabet soup does not work on him, and he cannot speak human language. Helen Lorraine is voiced by Madeline Peters, and Helen is the owner of both Martha and Skitz. She is known to be tomboyish, sensible, and a bit overbearing. Helen is 11 and biracial. Her father is Caucasian while her mother is Latin American. James Lorraine, or Jake, which is the nickname they give him, it doesn't really make sense to me because why is your name James but they're calling you Jake? He is also voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, and Jake is Helen's younger brother. In the Spanish dub version of the show, his name is changed to Pedrito Lorraine. Interesting fact for you all. Danny Lorraine is also voiced by Brian Drummond and is Helen and Jake's father. His occupation is a bus driver, as well as an actor in the community theater. He is said to be friendly but stern, as well as immature. Lastly, for the main Lorraine family, there are more you will meet, but for like the main one we follow the most, we have Marielle Lorraine, also voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, and she is Helen and Jake's mother. Marielle also acts in the community theater when she isn't working her job as a florist. Marielle does speak some Spanish in the show, always giving a translation to what she's saying afterwards. And while her parents or maiden name is never mentioned or shown, we do meet her brother Jorge. Now with that being our main family, let's meet some of the other characters, recurring or side. T.D. Kennelly, voiced by Alex Ferris and Valin Chenier, later on in the series is Helen's best friend. His father is named OG and is an inventor, while his mother is the vice principal of their school. His grandfather's name is CK, his cousin's name is CD, and he has a sister as well. But her name isn't mentioned, but we can probably assume from, TD, OG, CK, CD, it's probably along the lines of those names. I think OG, that is the name. If I were to have any name, I want it to be OG. Don't give me CK or CD. Alice Boxwood is also one of Helen's best friends. She has had a few different voice actors over the series, such as Christina Kravici, Michelle Kreber, and Ashlyn Drummond, who is actually the daughter of Brian Drummond, who plays Skitz and Danny. Ashlyn Drummond is also known for her roles as Chelsea in a few different Barbie movies, such as Barbie and Her Sisters in a Ponytail, Barbie: A Perfect Christmas, and Barbie: A Camping We Will Go. Alice has an older brother named Ronald and a pet cat named Nelson. Nelson, who is Martha's enemy because he's a cat. Miss Klusky, voiced by Nicole Oliver, known for her roles as Princess Celestia in My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, is Helen's teacher from Montreal. Miss Klusky knows that Martha can speak, along with basically everybody in this town, and she herself has a poodle named Francois. Carolina is Jorge's daughter, making her Helen and Jake's cousin. She is voiced by Vanessa Tomasino. Sorry if I said that wrong. I'm probably gonna say all these names wrong. I'm so sorry about that. She also speaks some Spanish throughout the show. However, she is described to be shallow and a know-it-all. Truman Oatley is voiced by Cedric Payne and another one of Helen's best friends. He enjoys reading and history. Truman is African American and is described to be a pessimist. Ronald Boxwood is Alice's older brother, voiced by Kathleen Barr. Ronald is very arrogant, and he likes to scare and tease Alice and her friends, including Martha. And our final three characters are Lucille and Bernard Lorraine, who are Helen and Jake's grandparents on Danny's side. And finally, Mr. Pangborn, who is the Lorraine family's neighbor and has a cat named Lightning. So now, with the characters finally out of the way and listed, let's move our analysis off with the theme song. We're not singing it. Martha was an average dog. She went when she ate some alphabet soup. Then what happened was bizarre. On the way to Martha's stomach, the letters lost their way. They traveled to her brain, and now she's got a lot to say.
How now, brown cow?
Martha speaks. Yeah, she speaks and speaks and speaks and speaks and speaks.
What's a caboose? When are we eating again?
Martha speaks.
Hey, Joe, what do you know? My name's not Joe.
She's not always right, but still that Martha speaks.
Hi there.
She's got the voice, she's ready to shout. Martha will tell you what it's all about. Sometimes wrong, but seldom in doubt. Martha will tell you what's all about. That dog's unique.
Testing, 1, 2.
Hear her speak. Martha speaks and speaks and speaks and speaks.
Communicates, enumerates, elucidates, exaggerates, indicates, and explicates, bloviates, and overstates, and hyperventilates.
Martha to retire. Martha speaks. Can we take some time to, one, appreciate how hard that theme song goes? I actually think it's like probably one of the best theme songs ever. It's so good. And when she starts hitting bars, hyperventilates. Not much to cover about the theme song. It is pretty self-explanatory. She just speaks. She speaks, she speaks, she speaks, okay? She just speaks. The first segment, episode 1, is called Martha Speaks. The second segment is titled Martha Gives Advice, but we will only be focusing on the first segment of this episode. The episode opens with a scientist who begins to tell us that we, the viewer, are about to see a talking dog. He tells us this episode features words like shout and whisper, and for us to try and see them being used throughout the episode. We then see Helen making alphabet soup when Truman enters. And this is before Martha can speak, by the way. This is like her becoming a speaker. What's it called? Prequel. Backstory. What? Truman says that there is a cat burglar around town. He then yells at Helen saying, "You're next," which is like such a threat. And then Helen uses the word shout. Within the first minute of the show, shout is used 3 times, twice by Truman, once by Helen. We learn some more about Truman, that he likes to have lunch with Helen because his house is very loud since his mother runs a day home. Helen accidentally switches her lunch with Martha's, giving Martha alphabet soup while she eats dog food. But she does switch the bowls back before Martha can eat it this time, so still Martha cannot speak yet. Helen and Truman then show us what the word expressing means, and Helen uses a hyperbole while doing so. TD then knocks on the window, and Helen wants to go and play. So instead of eating her lunch, she gives her alphabet soup to Martha. Martha eats alphabet soup, and later that night she speaks for the first time to Marielle. However, Marielle and Danny are both way too preoccupied to notice that Martha's speaking. Eventually, the family does realize when Martha goes up to Helen and asks her, and Helen's like, "Whoa, you spoke." They all start questioning Martha about things such as if she was always able to understand them, if dogs dream, and of course, how did she start talking? The scientist explains to us that because the alphabet soup is full of letters, it creates words. And when Martha ate the soup, the letters didn't go to her stomach, they went to her brain. Then he kind of gives us like a subtle warning stating not to feed your dogs alphabet soup because this only works on Martha or if your dog is a cartoon. The next day is a bit of a montage of Martha speaking to the neighbors, a pizza delivery girl, and using the phone, eating soup, talking to grandma, spoiling television, keeping Helen awake, and honestly just talking way too much. To the point that the family is annoyed, and Helen tells Martha she wishes Martha never learned to talk. The next day, the house is quiet because Martha feels obviously hurt, and Helen tells TD at school about her problems, but also is talking way too much. Like, TD can't even get a word in, and also class had already begun, so everyone's just like listening to her spill her problems, I guess. Martha won't eat any more soup because she feels that no one wants her to talk. So far, this only really worries Helen. Carolina comes over and the two use the word whisper because they want to make sure that Martha doesn't overhear them talking about her so she won't get offended or worried. It appears that a few days have passed before Marielle and Danny actually worry about why Martha's not speaking no more. They call the vet, but obviously a vet's not gonna care much because you're telling them a story that your dog's not talking. The family goes out to try and cheer Helen up since she kind of realizes this is like her fault. And while they're gone, the cat burglar breaks into the house, with Martha being the only one home. She calls the police, but because she hasn't eaten any soup, she can't talk. She tries to bark at him, but he isn't threatened by her, so instead he gives Martha food, which happens to be leftover soup. When the family arrives home from the movies, there are police cars outside their house. The police arrest the cat burglar and Helen apologizes to Martha. At the end of the episode, the viewers are taught another word, this time being exclaimed. This is kind of like a show, like a scene in between segments that we get. So this is like an in between segment where TD tells Martha she needs to exclaim more, telling her it means suddenly and loud. He also teaches her the word mumble, which she gets confused with whispering. He tells her mumbling means not opening your mouth much when you talk. TD then uses Martha, now knowing these words, to lie and say she ate his homework, which she says that to the teacher, so. Kids, it's okay to lie. It's okay. Martha said so. So this segment was more to teach us about Martha and how she started to speak. Within episodes, we are taught certain words, definitions of words, and how to properly use them. In this episode, we learned the words expressing, exclaim, and mumble. They also give us words to look for throughout the episode, which for us in this segment was shout and whisper. The segments are pretty quick, like most children's shows are. The cartoon style is nice and reminds me of like a picture book, which is perfect because it is based off of a book. So of course I searched up some theories about this show, and there actually were quite a few. One of the main theories of this show is that it is a show within a show. Like the Lorraine family, the Friends, Martha, they're all actors in a show that they know they're actors. And this is proven a few times throughout the show as well, so it's kind of like a canon thing because the characters themselves know they're actors. And there is a scene in one episode where there's like a production crew that comes in and takes down the set. A few people also believe that they think that Martha's backstory happened to Martha and that she just became super famous for being a talking dog, that she got her own like reality TV show sort of thing. And that they really advertise alphabet soup throughout this show because, I mean, like, it made her talk. The alphabet soup itself is called Granny Flo's soup, and she only makes alphabet soup and corn soup. She is really getting the advertisement for 2 soups. The last episode of Martha Speaks aired November 18th, 2014, which is crazy. I thought it ended way sooner. The show had a pretty long runtime, creating seasons and episodes for 6 years. The way I think of how it was run is literally how my siblings' age gaps are. My brother was born 2008 and my sister was born 2014. So the show existed between that age gap, kind of. Like it started when my brother was born, ended when my sister was born. Now I saw like 3 or 4 different sources of why the show ended. It's like no one really knows, I guess. One source said that it just ran its time and that the creators didn't think you could do more with it, so they just ended it. I saw another, however, saying that it ended because of low ratings compared to other children's shows that were coming out at the time. The last source I saw was that the show ended because the creators weren't getting paid enough to make the show. But for whatever reason, Martha Speaks got canceled. The show was good and taught children a lot of good long words that would really sharpen their vocabulary today. The final episode of Martha Speaks is titled We're Powerless. The beginning segment is called Martha's Holiday Surprise, but once again, we are only focusing on the one segment. The segment begins and it's winter and it's cold in the city of Wagstaff. Helen comes home from a walk with Martha and Skits. Truman and TD come over, and Truman teaches Martha the word of discomfort, using the example of cold snow down your back. Martha says she likes that feeling on her back, but baths and high-pitched noises give her discomfort. The kids play this game called Multi-Dimensional Intergalactic something Attack 4. Genuinely, I don't know what word was between intergalactic and attack. And Danny doesn't understand what Truman said either, so I'm not alone. Danny then looks like me while I make these videos. He then goes downstairs to tell the children that the snowstorm is getting worse and that blackouts are going through other towns because of it. He then teaches Martha what the word blackout means. Soon the power goes out, which makes everyone very bored. Martha says she will sleep until dinner, but Helen tells her that they have an electronic can opener, so there's no dinner until power comes back on, which introduces us to another word, starving, which Martha exaggerates by saying if she doesn't have food right now, she will starve. Personally, I think an electronic can opener is literally crazy work. The house starts to get cold, and Truman gives them ideas of playing their video game, but in real life, creating levels throughout the house. They move to the basement, not including Skits or Jake, the literal baby, but anyway, it's okay. If he freezes, it's fine. He doesn't really give us much anyway. Now in the basement, they begin level 1. They explain the game and create the obstacles and collectibles. This game is more or less just them running up and down floors from the attic to the basement, basically throwing clothes in laundry baskets. And Danny and Marielle do a terrible job at trying to capture them. Afterwards, they sit by the fire, eat sandwiches, and drink hot chocolate, where Skits is seen, but still not Jake. The power then turns on, but they turn off all the lights again and continue to play the same game. The episode doesn't have an in-between. Well, it does, but we're not going to cover that because it happened before this segment. So this show wasn't one that I would pick to watch. It was good. Don't get me wrong, it was really good. But it wasn't a show that I would choose to watch. If it was on, I would watch it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to put it on. I would show it to my younger sisters if it was a bit longer and a bit more enjoyable. These segments are really short. All the sources I used throughout this video are linked in the description below. Let me know if you guys like this episode and if there's any other videos you guys would like me to cover. Yeah. Bye.